Social Inclusion of Persons with Disability in Pakistan. Written by engineer Imtiaz Alam Khan. According to Oxford Dictionary, the word society originates from the Latin word socius, which means companionship. A society is essentially a collection of individuals of an area. The area may be global, countrywide, or a locality, or the area may be some common interest of the individuals. World Health Organization (WHO) defines disability as any restriction or lack resulting from an impairment of ability to perform an activity in the manner or within the range considered normal for a human being. Every society has its share of disabled persons. Few are born with permanent disabilities, most are born normal. Some of the normal, healthy persons, at some stage of their lives, may fall victim to some serious disease like polio or paralysis, etc. Or may be hit by some accident or suffer from some trauma which may impair their mental, physical, or sensory powers to such an extent as to limit their activities for the rest of their lives. When this happens, their status changes from able persons to disabled persons. All of a sudden, their normal life is shattered. They feel miserable, ashamed, confused as their world closes in. It can be said that a disability is something in a person which is different from normal. When this difference is prominently detectable, it becomes a stigma which the unfortunate person has to bear. The worst thing about disability is that people notice it even before they actually see the person. People often react to disabled persons with intensive gazes, pity, revulsion, or disregard. Some people are so insensitive that they make fun of the disabled person and harass him, her by passing derogatory, taunting remarks. Persons with disability (PWD) are often subjected to all sorts of abuses, and cases of their roughing up is not so uncommon. This is, by and large, the attitude of society towards PWD, the world over. However, the magnitude of abuses and intensity of discrimination is much lower in the developed countries as is prevalent in the underdeveloped countries like Pakistan. It goes without saying that PWD are like all other human beings. They have the same feelings, same emotions, and same aspirations as other people. They need social inclusion, acceptance by the society to be able to live, as far as it is possible, a normal life. They do not want mere sympathy from the society as it hurts their sentiments, shames them, and fuels the already existing inferiority complex which makes their life miserable. They want to be freed from discrimination, they want financial independence, dignity, and due respect. They want to be useful members of the society and therefore hanker for proper education and training for various skills so as to get decent jobs according to their merit. They want to work, to earn money to support their families and not to be dependent on the family or on the society. Ostracizing the PWD from the society and keeping them unproductive is certainly not good for the economic health of any country, as it entails a continuous financial burden which adversely affects the country's GDP. Pakistan is an Islamic Republic country and its population is overwhelming Muslim. It is therefore important to know about the Islamic perspective of disability. Islam is a religion of peace and brotherhood. Islam is also a champion of human rights, particularly of the poor, the disabled, and the downtrodden. The concept of disability, in the conventional sense as understood by us, is not directly addressed in the Holy Quran or Hadith. Islam perceives disability as morally neutral. It is seen neither as a blessing nor as a curse or punishment. It is simply taken as a fact of life which has to be appropriately addressed by the society. The only reference to disability in the Holy Quran is in the context of jihad. Not equal are those of the believers who sit at home, except those who are disabled, and those who strive hard and fight in the cause of Allah with their wealth and their lives. Quran 4-95. Islam ordains that persons with disability (PWD) should be given due attention and should be treated with dignity and respect and should not be humiliated in any way. This is very strongly emphasized as Allah SWT even reprimanded his beloved Prophet for ignoring a blind man, as stated in the Holy Quran, Ref 80-1, the Prophet frowned and turned away, because there came to him the blind man, interrupting him. But what would make you perceive, O Muhammad, that perhaps he might attain purity or be reminded and the remembrance would benefit him? The name of this blind man was Abdullah ibn Maktoum. On two separate occasions when the Prophet left Medina to battle with the infidels, he appointed Abdullah ibn Maktoum governor of Medina. This demonstrates conclusively that Islam asserts equal opportunities for PWD and they are to be engaged in every aspect of society. Thus it is clear that Islamic perspective is that PWD should be included in the society without any discrimination whatsoever. As such, it is incumbent for all Muslims to well treat the PWD and make efforts for their social inclusion. An important breakthrough in the cause of PWD was achieved at the United Nations. On 13 December, 2006, the United Nations adopted the Convention on the Rights of PWD and its optional protocol, A. Res. 61106. The convention proclaimed that all state parties will undertake to promote, protect and ensure the full and equal enjoyment of all human rights and fundamental freedoms by all of any kind on the basis of disability. This CRPD in effect, radically changes the status of PWD from objects of charity, medical care and social protection to subjects with rights to live freely, be independent to make their own decisions and to participate in the society as active members. It can be said that this convention is a comprehensive human rights treaty that has been ratified, signed by almost all countries that are members of the United Nations, including Pakistan. In fact, it is verily the endorsement of 1400 years old Islamic perception of PWD. Social inclusion of the PWD depends entirely on the policies of the government and the attitude of the society. We first take a cursory glance at the role of Pakistan government for the rehabilitation and social inclusion of the PWD. Surfing the websites of the Ministry of Human Rights, www.ilo.org and www.na.gov.pk, I present here below the findings in an abbreviated form. In 1981, the government of Pakistan promulgated Disabled Persons Employment and Rehabilitation Ordinance. Under this ordinance, national and provincial councils for the rehabilitation of disabled persons were established to formulate policies for the employment, rehabilitation and welfare of the PWD. Under this ordinance, 1% quota was reserved for PWD in all government and private sector organizations, which was later enhanced to 2%. In case of non-compliance, the organizations were required to pay into the Disabled Persons Rehabilitation Fund each month the amount of money which would have been paid as wages to the PWD. In 2002, national policy for PWD was finalized with the consensus of government departments and prominent NGOs. The overall vision of the policy was to provide a conducive environment for the induction of PWD in all spheres of life, including social, economic, personal and political. In 2006, National Plan of Action (NPA) for the benefit of PWD was formulated to suggest measures to bring into operation the national policy that had been approved in 2002. The NPA suggested short-term and long-term measures to achieve the goals of the national policy. The short-term measures listed in the NPA were establishment of data bank, strengthening medical rehabilitation services, promoting inclusive education, expanding vocational training, raising public opinion for the social inclusion of the PWD and increasing official support to NGOs working for the benefit of PWD. The long-term measures included expansion of social assistance and social security system and creation of barrier-free physical environment in all public places. In 2008, Special Citizen Act was passed to provide accessibility to PWD at all public places, allocation of seats in public transport, provision of facilities of footpath for wheelchairs and blind persons. In 2009, Special Citizen Right to Concession movement was promulgated to provide discounted rates to PWD in all modes of public and private transport, and PWD were allowed waiver of import duty on customized cars for their personal use. In 2018, the Ministry of Human Rights lined up with the UNCRDP and introduced the Bill of ICT Rights of PWD in the Parliament. This was passed by the National Assembly in April 2020 and promulgated as the ICT Rights of Persons with Disability Act, 2020. The legislative history of the rights of PWD and their social inclusion appears to be impressive, but, alas, it remains so on paper only. None of the above ordinance or acts have been, as yet, implemented in its true spirit. The ground reality is that the lives of PWD remains the same or perhaps even worse than before. The governments of Pakistan did frame good legislation but did not care to set up any organizational structure for the specific purpose of ensuring and overseeing its implementation, and the result is there for all of us to see. The 2% quota of jobs reserved for PWD is on paper only, as neither the public nor the private sector has ever adhered to it. No significant increase is seen in the numbers of rehabilitation service centers for PWD. The vocational training institutes remain ill-equipped and short of trained staff. No promotional campaign has ever been launched by the government on the electronic media to raise public awareness and public support for the social inclusion of PWD. Even after 70 years of independence, no comprehensive and authentic data on the population of PWD has been compiled. A database giving details of PWD population of the country, like age, gender, province, district, nature of disability, qualifications, skills, etc. is the basic preliminary requirement for the planning and execution of any welfare work for the PWD. Sadly enough, such a database has not yet been established. How a society deals with its PWD reflects its attitude and its caliber. One of the key indicators of the worthiness of a society is its handling of PWD issue. A society is said to be flourishing and vibrant when its PWD are truly absorbed in the mainstream life, without any discrimination or distinction. In such a society, PWD are cared for, educated and trained in skills they can perform, given jobs on merit, run their own business, are financially independent and accorded the same respect and dignity as given to all other members of the society. Measured by this criteria, our Pakistani society seems to be almost dead because of its apathetic attitude towards PWD. Unfortunately, people here are still unreceptive to PWD for various reasons of their own. The society has not yet opened its arms to fold the PWD in its motherly embrace. The fact that the society has not taken any initiative on its own and has not even responded positively to the government's ordinance and legislations regarding the PWD demonstrates clearly its unwillingness to absorb the PWD in its mainstream. This is most unfortunate, for it not only harms the welfare of PWD, but it also harms the economy of the country, as illiterate, poor and jobless PWD are unproductive and therefore a constant financial burden. Pakistanis are one of the most generous nations of the world. However, a duplicity is discernible in our behavior. Whereas, on individual basis we give freely to the poor, the needy and to the charity houses, yet on collective basis our society makes precious little effort to provide resources for the rehabilitation, medical treatment, education, skills training and employment for these hapless persons. Our almsgiving, as it is, merely serves to perpetuate poverty because it helps in keeping a sizable population unproductive and financially dependent on the society. The government should establish a separate organization structure with its head office in the capital city and regional offices in all provinces. An administrative mechanism be put in place for the strict implementation, supervision and monitoring of the legislations promulgated regarding PWD at federal and provincial levels. Authentic data on the country's population of disabled persons be compiled and stored in data banks established in the federal and provincial offices to study and assess the needs of PWD at district, tehsil level. Adequate resources including sufficient funds be provided at district level for the free rehabilitation, education, vocational training of PWD with the aim to make them fit for inclusion in society as dignified and independent members. A congenial environment be created to free the PWD from any harassment, humiliation, and discrimination in all spheres of life that has, so far, been the practice of our society, at large. This is possible only when public awareness of PWD is increased. Sustained campaigns on electronic, print media and public speaking forums, highlighting the principles of Islam, the teachings of our Holy Prophet and the universal emphasis on human rights. The public must be informed that Islam advocates that PWD are to be treated fairly and equally as their able-bodied brethren. Islam forbids any discrimination against PWD. Our Holy Prophet appointed a blind man the governor of Medina. It is therefore incumbent on us to accept them in society as free and independent members with all basic human rights. That it is in our interest to bring the PWD in the productive net, by educating them and giving them suitable jobs, to boost the economy of our country. Such programs on country-wide basis can help to change the mindset of our people. When this happens, society will have no reservations in accepting them on parity and giving them employment according to their merit. It is hoped that the present government, with its claims to turn the country into a Medina welfare state, will take the much-needed and long-awaited actions to tackle the humanitarian issue of PWD. The government should take effective measures to ensure the rights of PWD for a further reason, which is that the greatest asset of a country is its people, and people include persons with disability.